Welcome to Symplicity Conversations, the podcast where business, culture, and community come together to inspire and empower. I'm your host, Catherine Ripley. Each week, we'll explore meaningful conversations about how today's business landscape is shaped by innovation, relationships, and the people behind the progress. From actionable insights and stories from industry leaders to topics like customer experience, fostering strong business relationships, and the role of automation, we've got you covered. Whether you're an entrepreneur navigating growth, a leader focused on building lasting connections, or someone interested in how culture and community drive success, Symplicity Conversations is here to guide you. If you're ready to turn challenges into opportunities and make meaningful strides in your business and community, subscribe now and join the conversation. Get ready to simplify complexity and make an impact with Symplicity Conversations. Welcome to Symplicity Conversations, where we explore the intersection of business, technology, leadership, and community. Today, I'm joined by Alex Levin, who is the co-founder and CEO of RegalAI, and Mandi Jarman, who is the strategic director of the channel at Regal. Regal is a fast-growing platform that's reimagining how brands use AI and automation to create personal and meaningful connections with their customers. I'm really excited to talk to them today. But first, let's start with our Symplicity Insights, our famous quote of the day. Technology is best when it brings people together, by Matt Mullenweg. I think this is a perfect quote for us to be talking about exactly what Regal does, right? So be sure to subscribe to Symplicity Conversations to hear from more leaders that are shaping the future of business, technology, and community. So Alex and Mandi, welcome to the podcast. Isn't this amazing?
Yes. Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, absolutely. I'd love for you guys to start and just share a little bit about your background and what led you to RegalAI. So Alex, do you want to start first?
Sure. So before this, my co-founder and I worked at a company called Angie that owns Angie's List, Home Advisor, in the home services space. And I come from the marketing background and my co-founder comes from a product background. And we were always told, forget the contact center, it doesn't matter. It's just a call center, leave it alone.
Right.
And, every time they change something in the call center, lo and behold, it would affect my revenue or affect Rebecca on the product side. So eventually we stopped listening and, actually went and got engaged with the contact center. And basically what we discovered is a few things. One, they were being told, eliminate all interactions with customers, no matter what, which is crazy.
Wow.
And two, whereas on the marketing side and the product side, we had very advanced technology that allowed us to use customer data, do A/B tests, do quite sophisticated things.
Right.
In the contact center, the software is just getting long in the tooth. I'm not going to pick on anybody specifically, but it's, when your software is older than your agents, you have a problem.
Right.
And, we were a pretty big customer, but even when I'd go to the software providers and offer to work together to build better tools, they tell me to pound sand.
Yeah.
So, I think what we sort of figured out over time is you shouldn't just try to eliminate interactions. Like actually a lot of them are very valuable for the company to build trust and drive revenue and drive, loyalty among the customer base. And two, despite what everyone was saying, voice is really important. Mm-hmm. And so when we left to start Regal, it was kind of a put your money where your mouth is moment, right? Because, we were tired of complaining about other people's technology. Like we were going to go do it ourselves.
Right.
And we thought we could do it better, and use more modern concepts like, personalization based on customer data, using real-time signals, testing across multiple channels, and ultimately using AI agents. But I'd say a big part of it was just a belief in voice. And when we started 5 years ago now, and we tell people, hey, calls are important, talk with their customers, they go, oh, you're crazy, you guys are insane, whatever.
Right.
So it's actually kind of funny today when I start reading all this press about voice AI, where they're going, voice AI is the future. And we're like, yes, we know, like it's okay. Yeah. So it's actually, the irony of it all is I kind of like the days when people said we were crazy because we were the renegades, like the outlaws who were out there telling people voice was so important. And now, like, kind of everybody knows it. So, lo and behold, today, we serve hundreds of enterprise customers, helping them build, AI agents for their business, right? That are customized to their business and their customers, that do specific tasks. So often it's things like customer support, sales or lead qualification, certain operational use cases, whether it's payments or reminders and scheduling. Wow. And the baseline, just to give people an idea, is most of our customers, about 20 or 30% of their calls are now done by AI. And I think 5 years from now, it'll be 90%.
Yeah.
So even faster for some brands. And they're performing as well as humans on CSAT, on outcomes, all of that at a fraction of the cost without any of the operational headache. So that's really the future here.
Yeah, that's exciting. How about you, Mandi? What led you to Regal?
Yeah. I mean, I think Alex made a good point, right? Him and Rebecca made a big bet on the fact that voice wasn't dead. I was actually all AI prior to Regal. So I kind of got my foot in the door 7 years ago in that conversational intelligence space and saw so many people interested in AI. And the fact that people weren't afraid to use it or afraid to talk to it, for example, they just thought it was bad. They thought the experience was kind of garbage. They thought it was difficult to interact with different components of AI. So I actually moved from a conversational intelligence platform to the Regal platform to work with our partners like Symplicity.
Oh, that's awesome. So what really makes Regal unique as you compare it to some of the other AI contact center plugins, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, I can talk to it. I'd say, first of all, there's a lot of, when people say AI for the contact center, they usually mean three different things. They mean first, the human agent assist, so telling humans what to say. Second, they mean conversation intelligence, so the post-call analysis. And third, they mean autonomous AI agents. While we do a lot of that, we focus very much on the third, the actual autonomous AI agents. The first two, we think, the sort of are less important than the autonomous AI agents themselves. Within the autonomous AI agent space, there's 1,000 Y Combinator companies, kids who dropped out of college, can't drink yet, living in their mom's garage.
Right.
But, there's a million of that. There's only a few real enterprise platforms. So first, let's say that's a big difference as we work with very large companies. Among those, what we do particularly well are voice AI. So phone AI agents are really top notch, either the best in the market or second best given any week, but like very, very good. We do offer other channels, but I'd say we're mediocre there, honestly. Like, we're best at voice. Two, we do something very sophisticated by integrating with our customers' data systems so that those AI agents can say, hi, Mandi, like, I know you're from, Texas, and last week you spoke with, Sally about X, Y, and Z. And that ability to really cook into their systems is quite powerful, to know data, to take actions, update the CRM, that kind of stuff. And then I'd say the last one is, beyond just like taking actions, we actually allow companies to do A/B testing very seamlessly. It was always something I was very annoyed about in the contact center world in the past, where we'd want to test something and like it was impossible. And we'd have to say, oh, basically this week we're doing one thing and next week we're doing another, or half the floor you try to do this, half the floor the other. And it was never really strategic or very accurate. So with Regal, you can drag and drop and set up human versus AI tests, or multiple different AI agents, or test different channels with AI agents. And so that ability to really drag and drop, self-serve A/B test empowers people to go from, oh no, I'm worried if I use this AI, it's going to maybe tank my whole business, to no. Even on your biggest use case, test AI on 1% of the calls.
Right.
A/B test it versus the humans and see what the performance is. And once you think it's good enough, then do 2%, 3%, 4%. And it's a complete shift in mindset where people are no longer scared to roll this out, because we're not asking them to go and, immediately go and switch a whole use case. We're just saying go test 1% of the use case.
And look at the data and figure out what you need to do next, right? I think that people don't take the time to do that.
Right. No, and you can use other AI tools to look at the AI agents, right? I think people get really wrapped up in, like, how are we talking about AI? How are we rolling it out? But if you take it in that crawl, walk, run, take little pieces at a time, test them out to make sure they're working. You build the trust in the AI systems. Your customers are giving you good feedback or bad feedback. You're making the adjustments, and then it's an easier rollout, right? I know, Catherine, we've probably talked about deploying AI to the masses, and then it goes bad, and then everyone hates it.
Right.
So they're like, nope, we want this human touch point.
Right.
But I'm sure Alex can call an AI agent for us today, and we can see that it's gotten way, way better.
That would be fun. What industries do you feel like benefit the most? Do you have one leading industry, or, can you speak to that?
I mean, what I always sort of have found is, a lot of the base retail in the United States is most convinced that their contact center is a cost center. So we stay away from people who think that way. If I'm really being honest, somebody who just says, I don't care about my customers. I'm going to hide the phone number. I'm going to, send them all to like self-serve. I'm never going to talk with them. Look, maybe if you're selling pencils, that's what you have to do, but that's not where we focus. We focus on businesses who believe in having a relationship with a customer, building loyalty, building trust, and that driving ultimate customer value. So that tends to be in the half of the consumer economy, which is services. So healthcare, insurance, financial services, education, local services, including home services. That's where it tends to be most. And then we also do work with a lot of e-commerce companies that are either higher end or more complicated. So whether some people think of auto, for instance, as e-commerce, which is obviously a very important emotional purchase. And so they value deeply the relationship between the brand and the customer. But that's where we like to stay. Somebody who is only interested in, no, put everything as self-serve, never talk to them, we don't like. The vision we espouse is a bit different. We think, or what we're seeing is that in the same way, websites in the mid-90s completely changed how people interacted with the brand. We're seeing that now the future of the interaction with brands is through an AI agent. The first place we're changing that is through the contact center, where customer service and sales are moving to AI. But in the future, what I'm saying is you're not even going to go to a website. You're not going to go to an app. You're just going to talk. And you're going to say, hey, Airbnb, I want my, a place in, New Mexico on these dates, and it'll engage with you. And sure, will you be able to type as well? Fine. But it's actually typing is the secondary use case, because talking is faster than typing. You can emote better, and it's much easier to understand what's going on. So the future of sort of interacting with these brands, and I think a lot of brands are on top of this, is not a website, not an app. It's going to be a voice interaction.
That's so interesting that you say that, because I was at a conference 6 months ago, and somebody kind of dropped that thought of, what if your phone didn't have any apps on it because you just told it what you wanted and it responded? So you don't have an app for maps. You just say, give me directions to this place, and it found the place and showed you where you're walking to or where you're driving to. And I thought, oh, good gravy. I mean, I'm one of those on my phone that I like to have all my little matching apps for travel in the little subfolder, and I'm just try to be very organized. And I try to go in and delete apps that I haven't used in a while just to keep things cleaned up. I'm like, oh my gosh, that would be amazing to have no apps. And I think that's reflective of the technology industry, that you've got all these app developers, right? That is maybe a change in what they're going to be doing. They're going to be repurposed, but it's interesting when you think about what RegalAI, what the problem solves. And I think it goes back to people using the word customer experience or employee experience and really underestimating the value of that. So I think, when you look at how Regal leverages that automation, how does it really enhance that customer engagement?
Yeah, I mean, again, start with a problem that is very well known. Americans spend on average 43 days of their life on hold.
Wow.
Not playing with your kids, not sleeping, not doing whatever, not even dealing with the issue at hand, literally just sitting on hold. With AI agents, our customers go from hold time to zero hold time, right? Because it means that everything is instantly available to you.
Right.
It's part of why voice is so interesting with an AI agent, is because you never have to wait again for somebody who can talk to you. So just from a customer experience perspective, that means that removes that friction, removes that barrier, removes that frustration. Same concept where if let's say you're asking a business to come and redo your roof, and you're waiting for that guy to call you or that woman to call you, and they're not getting, that's all gone, right? Because as soon as you ask for something, they call you back and they say, hey, we'll tell you about what the price is for that roof. So I think, eliminating hold music is one of the nice goals. I'll give you another one that's more of a personal pet peeve, but another example is, I hate chat. I can't stand that I go to these sites and there's a chat bot, and if I accidentally go to the wrong tab, it's gone and it doesn't ever remember what I did before, and I can't engage with it in any real way because it's giving me these weird buttons that don't ever match what I'm actually looking for.
Right.
I can't stand it. Chat can go away, right? Because now whenever you go to a website, you can immediately talk with it if you have the time to talk and engage, or if you need to, like you can like even text with an AI agent, right? Where it's persistent, it stays with you, it has all the answers instantly in any topic you want. So I think things like that. So like if all of a sudden hold time went away, and for me and anybody else who doesn't like chatbots went away, like the world would be a much better place.
Yeah, that's really interesting, especially because with some of our enterprise clients, every platform comes with a chatbot, like ServiceNow and their contact center product, their CRM product. They all have chats now. And it's like they're so confused on which one do I pick and how do I use it? And the concept of you don't have to pick any. You just have to pick the right partner to help you with automation.
Same thing with IVA. IVA goes away, right? You don't need these complicated IVRs with, like I'm building some weird, 18-step process. AI agents can immediately be on the phone handling the issue.
Wow.
So I think the sort of the past model of automation was, hey, I need to save costs, so I'm going to do things more the same for everybody, even if it's a worse experience because it's going to be cheaper. Right. The future model of AI agents as automation is actually the opposite. It's cheaper and a higher quality experience than humans can offer. And so that takes a little bit of time to wrap your mind around. Of automation isn't low cost, low quality. Automation is low cost, high quality. Like it's a new category of things.
Right. It sounds like it's evolving in that direction. I think people from clients that I'm talking to are still just saying, we want to roll out the right chatbot, or we want, to automate some of our IVR functions, right? But I think the concept of what you're talking about, Alex, is really pushing that boundary to say, what if you didn't have a chatbot at all?
And I'll take you like one step further. AI agents are a deflationary force. So the opposite of inflation. Instead of increasing prices, it decreases pricing. Because at a company that today has to have 1,000-person contact center to support you, they can reallocate that money to something else, right? They don't need to have it. Now they can have more marketers. They can do a new kind of service they never did before. They can just lower the prices and give you a better price. And so if you take advantage of AI agents faster, guess what? You have a massive strategic advantage over your customers because you have this new kitty of money that you can dip into to do things, lower pricing, new marketing, whatever, new programs. So the people who actually are faster on this are going to be the winners. What's interesting is so far, I think, most people are coming to me going, we missed the last, we're a slow company. We missed the last thing. I don't know if we're going to be on the first, wave of this. And I go, guys, it's a new wave. It doesn't matter if you missed the last wave. It's a new opportunity. You get to choose. Do you want to be on the forefront of this or not? Because it doesn't require any integration with your old systems. It doesn't require any of the old stuff. Entirely you choose. So I think companies are going to fall into like two categories. Those that take advantage of this deflationary force and see massive skyrocketing growth because of the cost savings, and those that are laggards are really going to struggle.
So it sounds like there's a lot of misconceptions in AI, especially in those customer engagements. People are struggling. How do I use automation? Executive teams telling me I need automation, I need to automate, I need AI engaged, but they don't know how to start. And it sounds like there's a lot of misconceptions out there.
No, I would say a ton. And I think we hear a lot too is customers are trying to build this themselves. So your C-levels, your CIOs, your COOs are probably on developer sites, kind of understanding what Alex is saying or getting really excited and going and trying to build them. But you do still need like a Regal to be able to come in and help you because it's not quite there yet that you can just go out there and build it. And that's where you get that, employee experience, customer experience where you're like, I built it. It didn't really work. So now I'm going to shy back away from it, right? You do need the support and the help.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. Like over the last 18 months, every Fortune 500 company had direct contracts with either Anthropic or OpenAI and had teams building on top of them directly. To a T, it's like been taking 18 months for them to like decide, but to a T, every conversation I have now with the CIO at a Fortune 500 company, we tried it, we did a thing, we're being outpaced by the vendors in the space. Basically, they were not able to keep up with the level of change in the LLMs, the voice models, the capabilities of AI agents, the integration, so on and so forth. And other than one or two companies where I've literally said to them, like, you're doing great, keep doing it. And like, we'll be honest, everybody else is now switching to using vendors. And when I say using vendors, we have access to all of the voice models, all of the LLMs, right? We're not actually an LLM provider. We're not building a new OpenAI. What we're building are the tools on top of it that solve problems like, how do I connect it to my systems? How do I let the AI take action? How do I set guardrails and know that my legal and compliance team are going to be okay? How do I, every time I change my AI agent, test and make sure it's doing the thing it's supposed to be doing? Those are problems that are not solved by the underlying LLMs. They're actually solved by tools like Regal. So we play a very important role in not just the professional services, but actually creating an application layer for enterprises to be able to operate this. Sometimes people call us an AI operating system. I usually use the word platform, but there's a lot of tools you need to build on top of the underlying LMs to make this practical.
I think that there's a balance between automation and human touch, right? Especially as you're going through it, because you can't just go from 0 to 90% of your interactions handled by AI, right? There's got to be a balance. So can you speak to that a little bit of how you take customers on that journey to say, here's where you start? And I think you can say, hey, we want to get to 90% of your interactions, being automated. However, this is what it looks like. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, right now, it's a great foot in the door conversation, or to start that conversation with your really high volume, very repeatable tasks, right? Okay. So scheduling appointments, qualification or verification from, form fills or collections and payments and billing, things like that. Highly emotional jobs as well, thinking like debt collection. Oh, yeah. A human agent who has to sit there all day, not get a lot of phone calls. The phone calls they get probably are very stressful. You want to offload those types of tasks today to AI, and that makes the employee experience way better because now your human agents are doing more revenue driving, more complex tasks. Maybe they get a raise because their tasks are more important to the business. And then all of that day-to-day stuff that just takes a long time, a lot of outbound calls nobody answers. That can just be done 24 hours a day now by the AI agents who are not going to get emotional or frustrated or have to take 7 breaks because they're over frustrated. Right.
What upcoming features or innovations are you most excited about at Regal?
I'll let you hear it from Alex directly.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what direction we want to take the conversation. So there are a series of sort of known challenges with AI agents that we and everybody in the industry are working very hard. So even though the AI agents actually are amazingly good now, better than humans in most of these cases, there are certain things that we can make the voices even more realistic with pauses and emotion and things like that. We can continue to improve the LLMs, underlying it, to make sure that they're even more fine-tuned to the specific use cases. There are things like that are industry-wide challenges. Every platform has them. Every platform is working on them. So leave those to one side, let's say, because I think that's broadly understood. That's going to keep improving. The way people usually frame it is to say AI agents are the worst they're ever going to be. So that's one set of things. I think for us, the things we think of as being very differentiated for Regal is in a couple categories. So first, we have a concept, a vision that you should be able to build once and deploy everywhere. And what I mean by that is, let's say you have a new policy. Hey, for VIPs, instead of doing $20 credits, you can do $40 credits. Today, with human agents, that's actually has to update a knowledge base. You have to retrain people. It could take weeks for that to actually hit the floor. Then with AI agents, if you have one for chat, like a chat bot, and then a AI agent in voice, an AI agent in email, if you have them in different channels, it could be a bunch that you're updating. So that's not how Regal works. So Regal actually, at one time, you can update the policy in Regal, and we can make sure that across every AI agent you're using in Regal, across all the channels, and across your human agents, which can sit in another contact center or can sit in Regal, we can make sure they're also doing the right thing. So that concept of this sort of eliminating the busy work in contact center so you can focus your time on instead actually innovating and trying new things and A/B testing is very important to us. So a lot of the things we're building are in that direction where you're going to continue to have people running contact centers, but it'll be a team of like very smart innovators who finally can say, okay, like I listened to a bunch of calls and I think there's something wrong. We're not connecting with people emotionally enough. Let's change these conversations to talk more about their kids and their favorite sports teams, because that's going to drive something. And that immediately can roll out across all human and AI conversations that they're doing across the contact center. And they can see stats on what happens, whether you're connecting emotionally or not, to decide whether that test was right. That's the future of how you run a contact center.
Well, I think that if we remember that at the end of the contact center is a human that is calling in for a reason, and they have all different types of languages and dialects, right? So I've got to believe that, there's always been skills-based routing of calls of if somebody's speaking Spanish, then you have to route that to a Spanish speaker. But with AI, it simply can, when the person starts speaking, it recognizes what language they're speaking and even so much a dialect, because you can have somebody speak French, but if they're from New Orleans or if they're from Montreal, if they're from Paris, that language is very, very different, right? So, that's got to be a huge benefit for you guys to be able to say, now, Mr. Customer, no matter what type of language your customer is calling in, you get to support that language in all of its dialect immediately without having to, you want to talk to somebody in Spanish? Let me transfer you. Again, to your point, Alex, those transfers just go away. You just immediately start supporting that and responding in the proper language.
And I'll push your thinking even further, just like to show you. This is not like something widespread, but I have a surprising number of friends who are building their own personal AI agents where they don't want to have to call into the company themselves anymore to do X thing. So let's say they, used to every 3 months have to call the pharmacy and schedule a new prescription and, whatever, say what time they want to pick it up. They've made a little AI agent that does that. So in the future, our AI agents are not only going to be talking to humans, but our AI agents will be talking to your AI agent.
Oh my gosh.
And so what happens when an AI agent talks to an AI agent, are interacting, and what language do they speak? So there was a demo recently somebody put together, because English is not a very efficient language, for the passive information. So they created like a language for AI agents that are just sort of like beeps, basically, where they can pass information more quickly. So the AI agent talks to another, recognizes they're both AI agents, and they go, okay, switching to like AI dialect, and then they start talking, AI to each other.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that did just push the boundaries there a little bit. But that's the cool, surprising thing about, when we talk about, and even just use the word automation, right? It can go in 1,000 different directions and it means something different. And I think that what customers, the way they're used to buying technology is, let me go look at these 3 quotes and figure it's so different. And I think how we're purchasing is different, but also we can't even begin to see all of the impact of that decision. So I'd love to kind of get your take on how do you clients in trying to navigate who they should work with and how any advice for other than just call Regal, but any advice for people that really want to bring more automation into their company, but they just don't even know where to start.
Yeah.
Cool.
I was going to say, I would ask questions around, especially with your team at Symplicity.
Yeah.
What are they trying to do with AI or automation? Like, have them explain back to you a goal, and then that typically would start to uncover different pain points that they have. It could be the cost of labor is super high, or training people. It's really difficult. That's why I want to automate things, right? Like, once you uncover those pain points, you can narrow your conversations around AI and automation a lot, just from a simple pain point, versus what we see is a lot of people either come to us or come to partners and say, tell me about AI, right? And that's just like a terrible question. That's going to get you basically nowhere, because there's a million different ways you can take that conversation. So I would say narrow it down, look for specific pain points. When we look at Regal, that's a lot to do with the cost of labor, the cost of training, or the difficulty to keep people in a contact center. Right. That's where we want to start to offload that mundane, day to day to the AI agents. But there could be a million different other use cases that there's a million other AI companies that can help with as well.
Yeah, and a great place to start is just to, if you have access to it, do it yourself, or if not, ask your customer for the number of calls, and the time on call by disposition for the last month. Because 90% of the time, the ones that are the highest volume are also going to be pretty simple ones that can be handled by AI. And what you're looking for are very high volume use cases that are done by unlicensed staff. So if anything is done by a licensed person, so in life insurance or certain industries it has to be licensed, AI is not licensed yet by federal rules, although we're working on that. So look for unlicensed high volume use cases in voice, and that's going to be a great starting place. And no, they don't need to move all of them. It's what we talked about before. Just do an A/B test and get them to agree to sort of move 1% of them and see what the value of an AI agent is. And all of our customers, we start them with a test. So they can build data, build conviction, and then sell internally with that data that they should keep moving in this direction.
So, Alex, where do you see Regal evolving over the next few years?
I think, this sort of transition to particularly voice AI as the main channel. The last time something this big happened was sort of the shift to cloud in the early 2000s. So, I don't see us sort of focusing on anything else other than the shift from human agents to, voice AI agents over the next 5 years. There's just so much interest and so much demand for this. This keeps us busy. We've made a decision strategically to work with the largest customers and to be very hands-on with them, because we think in this cycle, that's the most important way that we can support them. That'll change for sure. Over time, I think the product will change, or the way we do professional services will change, which customers we work with will change. But this goal of how do we get you an AI agent built for you that is going to do this special voice interaction, that's not going to change.
Mm-hmm. So customers to work with Regal really need to be large or enterprise size businesses, correct?
I would look at if you have a contact center that's sitting, around 100 agents or more, that's realistically where you'd have the type of volume where the AI agents can really come in and make an impact. So you have healthcare systems who want, instead of a call tree, they want people to call in and be like, I'm a new patient in the Dallas area. What's the nearest location to me? Can you help me schedule an appointment? Mm-hmm. That's a super easy workflow that should be offloaded to an AI agent. But health systems that are, like a Corewell, large like that would be who has that type of volume.
Got it. And I think that some of the industries that we're talking about are in desperate need of these transformations because of the talent crisis that we've experienced since the pandemic, because of the rising costs of everything. So many businesses really need to embrace this, but we do see they just don't know how to start, right?
Yeah. And Mandi mentioned this, but one particularly interesting thing for me is when you're trying to sell contact center software to somebody, it's hard because if they do nothing, they just stay on the current software, right? Mm-hmm. The inertia is with just don't change. And there's so many people that kick the tires, look at something, but every year they just stay with the same software.
Stay with the same, yeah.
Right? Labor is different. If they do nothing, 40-50% of their team is gone at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So they are constantly in a motion where they have to do work to refill the staffing of that team. And it's constantly an active choice of, do we use AI or do we use human agents? It's not like they have to go fire people. No, it's just if they do nothing, 50% of the team will be gone in a year. Mm-hmm. So I think from a sales perspective, that makes it so much easier because everyone is always in market for AI agents. Mm-hmm. Whereas with contact center, it's, every 3 years I'll think about it and I probably will only switch it every 10 years.
Right.
And so it's rare that people are in market for contact center software.
So let's talk a little bit about a customer that chooses to work with Regal. Implementation is always the most painful thing when we invest in technology, moving to that platform. But you've mentioned that start small, solve one thing. You're not displacing and forklifting everything, right?
Right.
So can you talk a little bit about what an implementation and especially the time frame of that?
Yeah, I mean, the exciting thing is it's a lot faster than, ripping out a contact center and trying to put in all new technology. That's not really what we're doing. At Regal, we give you a forward deployed engineer actually first to come in and help with use cases and examples and what types of tasks make the most sense to do that. And then like Alex said, we'll have an implementation and then a continued customer success team that's always going to be with you as a customer. That gives you this is what's working, this is how the A/B testing is going. And ideally, I think the goal, to what Alex said, is to have it become more self-serve once you've been so highly trained, right? Right now, we know it's not there yet. So we are very hands-on and do work, day to day, hour to hour with our teams from a customer perspective to make sure the AI agents are trusted and working and constantly improving.
Well, I think it's an evolution, right? I think IT people in the past are used to buying a technology and putting it in, deploying it, and there you go, your deployment's done. And then nothing comes of that. But now you roll out a UCaaS system or CCaaS system, you've got to look at it. You've got to look at the data and say, now what do I need to automate? Now what's next?
Well,
How do
IT,
I, look at if it's working?
Oh, yeah. IT loves this too, right? Like IT typically shies away from a lot of new projects. It's not their favorite conversation to have. This is, oh my gosh, if I could take away all those password reset questions and then I don't have to reset systems because it's handled by the AI, that makes their job so much easier. So they're very invested in having this conversation as well.
So it's possible to... Go ahead, Alex.
First, I was going to push you just even a little further on this IT conversation, which is many times when I'm talking with contact centers where they're in market to change their CCaaS system, I tell them to not do it because I say, look, based on the use cases you're doing, 80% of your contact center, 90% are doing use cases that AI can handle now. Spend the next 2 years moving from human agents to AI agents. Don't spend the next 2 years switching from Genesis to NICE. You're going to get zero out of switching from Genesis to NICE. Small, marginal 1% improvements. Switching to AI, you're going to save 50+% in cost, depending on where your agents are now. So don't worry. Just literally do not switch your CCaaS. Like I tell them not to do it. And then at the end of it, if they have 10% of the humans left, you can put them in Regal. Like we do, we are also technically a CCaaS. So if net, you're now, instead of having, 2,000 agents at NICE, you now have 200 or even 20, whatever is the number, and you need to put them somewhere, either leave them where they are or move them to Regal so that, again, to what I said before, you can build once and deploy everywhere without having to manage multiple systems. But, the need to switch contact centers, software should be going down and down and down because it's just not going to be important. That's not where people are going to be spending most of their thinking and time and how they're designing customer interactions anymore.
Yeah, definitely. And those that are still on premise solutions, Avaya, Cisco, goodness gravy, right?
But again, it's going to be, to my point about catching the next wave, they were late on the cloud wave, but it doesn't matter because now there's a new wave. So as long as they're early on AI, it's going to excuse all sins in the fact that they stayed on prem for so long.
That's cool. Let's talk a little bit about fun and personal stuff. So if you could automate one thing in your personal life, what would it be and why?
Oh man, that's such a good question.
I know.
I need a second.
Well, the one that's pretty real apparently, and I feel terrible saying this as a parent, but it's real, is there's more and more people apparently in cities where there's driverless cars using the driverless cars to ferry their kids around. Where like before they were little, like I don't know if I want to put my kid in a car with a driver that I don't know with with an Uber. If it's a driverless car and there's no human in it, you feel very safe, even with pretty young kids. Instead of you spending your life driving them around, like the driverless car can do it. And so I think like that's a pretty fascinating future where like, I don't know, you shirk that responsibility, but then like what happens? You're not at your kid's sports game or you're not at the thing. Like how do you still stay involved if you're driving your kids around to all these things? Or what are you going to do with all your time now that you're not driving your kids around to all these things?
It's so funny if you think about what what's in your refrigerator. I've long stopped going to the grocery store. I just have it delivered, right? But I think, if there's things in my fridge when I empty them, if my fridge could just say, she's out of milk, I'm going to order it and have it delivered, that would be lovely.
Oh, that would be so nice. I feel that way probably about travel. I travel quite frequently. So I think just like having to go on and book everything and change the reservations or the flight's delayed. Yeah. Like just them knowing, hey, fix this for me. Get me on the next best available flight.
That's so interesting.
Not sitting on hold for hours and hours.
Exactly. Speaking of hold, that's definitely the travel hold. But being able to just say, book me and have it know my preferences that, I want to use my upgrades.
Knows where I want to sit.
I want to get, Yep. I want to pay for coach, but I want to get my upgrades, for yeah, definitely. I think that there's a lot of tasks that we do that we kind of dream of. Could that be handled automatically? Right. So let's talk a little bit about, is there a book or a podcast or a resource that kind of helps you, kind of think about technology differently that you'd want to share with listeners?
I know, Alex, you're a big podcast listener as well.
None that I'd particularly recommend. I mean, I think, it depends what you're interested in. I listen to a lot of ones that are very tech specific, or I honestly read them more than listen to them. I'll read the transcripts, but 20 VC equity, things like that. Other than that, I don't have enough time to go further flung.
Yeah.
I read the news. I read, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, CNN, a couple other sources, but that's about it.
Yeah. How about you, Mandi? Anything?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a daily listener every morning.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a quick 20-minute, good to get ready to. Yeah, in terms of books, I just read this book, Unapologetically Ambitious, which is really good for women in tech.
I've heard about that.
It's very good. We have a mutual person who came and spoke to us from NVIDIA who recommended it, and she was in training with the woman who wrote it. So
that's cool. I'm going to look that one up.
It's a good one for sure.
Yeah, I have one that I like. It's called Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. And it's kind of a personal journey kind of thing. She wrote Eat, Pray, Love. But this Big Magic is the idea of Alex, you and Rebecca had an idea to say, I can do this better, right? That's the same with my company. I saw this going, I can simplify this for people. That's why I named the company Symplicity. But these ideas come, and if you don't grab them, it's going to go find someone else. And so it was a pretty cool book. But Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, I love that. So thank you so much for joining the podcast today. This discussion of automation and AI is just massive. Customers don't know where to go. Service providers are just pushing interesting perspectives of it, especially if they're not born in that area and they're trying to become an automation AI company. So I think that this conversation is really going to help a lot of people. And they can find us, we'll put it up on the captions, but RegalAI, I think is really, pushing the boundaries, as we've heard, really having us think differently about automation and what's possible. So I can't wait to bring RegalAI into our customers. So thank you so much for listening to Symplicity Conversations. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and visit us at thesimplepodcast.com to connect and learn more about inspiring leaders like Alex. Thank you so much, Mandi, and we'll see you next time.